Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Week 9 RotoGrinders NFL Daily Fantasy Recap Show, also affectionately known as the Gillcast. We are minus one fishy friend this week as Sammy Reed was out, in the desert doing like weird baseball stuff. I don't know the exact specifics of the Arizona Fall League, but that's where he is.
He was able to make this Gillcast. I think he chose not to be on tonight's.
I think he's literally on his flight right now is the issue. I think he's like actually on an airplane right now, which is why he's not texting us back about how bad his lineup was today. I am, of course, Davis Mattek. You can find me on Twitter at Davis Mattek, here with Nate Nohling, Nohling. I'm trying to help you boost your follower count up,
Thanks, bro.
Just a little bit. Nate, man, how was your Sunday?
It was all right. I mean, in cash, I bubbled, so got some back, not all. A little tilt and close with this New Orleans LA game.
I was actually, this is the first time all year. We are to week 9. This is the first time all year where I was anti-sweating my cash lineup because I had a GPP lineup that was so good. I was profiting well into the 4 figures, and then Michael Thomas lineup, I think it was a 72-yard touchdown comes down. And while I had Michael Thomas in cash, that swing of that touchdown basically brought my winnings down by about 600%.
Yeah, that swing was tilting because in cash he was so owned it wasn't a swing enough for me, and then in GPP it took everything I had out because I was so heavy fading on MT in tournaments.
It definitely swung enough for me in cash.
Because you went with the Cooks wood swap.
Yeah, like that play brought my cash lineup from being unprofitable in terms of just that lineup too. I think I probably made like 15% in cash with that.
The good thing is that I made more money than Sammy Reed did this week because Sammy Reed had the fishiest, and it was fishy from 11:30.
I told him before the lineup's locked. I was like, that lineup is bad.
It was 11:30, and I literally was like, "Is Sammy hungover in Arizona? Like, what is he doing?"
I don't know.
Sammy Reed played Adrian Peterson in cash games.
And I need everyone listening to this to know we're not bullying him. Like, this isn't like he's not going to listen to this and be like, "Wow, those guys are being mean." I told him to his phone, I guess not to his face, but I told him before lineups locked, I was like, "That is bad, and you should feel bad for making that play."
Yeah, it was pretty bad. He got bailed out a little bit where his score did get into the hundreds because of the Vikings D, but his lineup was egregious. Can I read it?
Yeah, read it before we get into ours. Read Sammy's lineup.
So Sammy went Cam, which is fine. Then he went Gurley, Ingram, AP as his 3 running backs.
Ingram so bad.
And then his receivers, Jarvis Landry, Cooper Kupp, Sutton, Rudolph at tight end, and Vikings D.
So he played 3 chalk players in his whole lineup, I guess, right? Or Gurley, so 4.
So he faded Thomas, he faded Kamara, and he faded
Wood/Cooks.
Yeah, like I don't know.
I don't actually have a huge issue with the Kupp play. I don't think it was good, but I don't think that was bad. The issue in his lineup is that he played Jarvis Landry, who was just not a good play. Yeah. Like, not a good cash play at this point in time.
And he got bailed with the Vikings D. I don't know how you play the Vikings D in cash. I thought that was,
feels egregious that I just didn't just go Bears D in every lineup.
Well, they were also 4,100, right?
I mean, yeah, but the Bears D against Peterman, like, what was going to happen?
I think the 2 defense plays in cash this week were Chiefs or Broncos. That was really like all I looked at all week.
I mean, I just played the cheapest defense because of what I ended up doing, which we can talk about right now. So you went Fitzpatrick at quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, I thought that was good. I didn't think that was bad. I didn't even really like the Cam play. I don't really even know why I made it. I actually wanted to go Goff at quarterback. I thought Goff was the best play. I'm just like a stupid sheep. I just do what everyone else does at quarterback a lot of the time. So that's the only reason I played Cam.
Yeah, in cash, I really looked at 2 quarterbacks, and it was Goff or Fitz. I think I understand the Cam thing, and I don't think Cam was a bad play at all. I just thought Goff and Fitz were much better. I mean, Fitz was. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It's just this Tampa Bay offense. The fact is, they're going to chuck.
You just got to hope that they get the 4 quarters in, because when they get the 4 quarters in, it doesn't matter if it's Winston or Fitzpatrick. They're both they're gonna ball.
Yeah,
out.
they're just gonna ball. I mean, it doesn't matter, and you're gonna get them at 5,500 because people think the quarterbacks suck. And I don't know. I thought Fitz. Yeah, I had Fitz in tournaments a ton. I had Fitz in cash. I was on Fitz week 1. I was on Fitz week 2. I've been on Tampa Bay quarterbacks like, I think, almost every week.
You are not sharp for playing him in week 1 though, because you didn't know it was about the offense. Literally, you just were like, dude, he had 6 touchdown game that one time.
No, I played him because of the 8 odds of all his drivers. I mean, I played him because of his weapons. I'm a huge
which I guess is like a big
Godwin's, Evans, Howard, Djax. I mean, he's got. Yeah, him and Deshaun Watson are going to be the 2 guys that I play a ton this year.
Yeah, so I mean, no issue with that in any way. Like I think that was fine. I don't think deviating from the Cam chalk was bad. And Cam probably could have had 40. He like just ran so bad. They had the fullback touchdown. They had the Curtis Samuel rushing touchdown. They had he had a rushing touchdown called back that turned into a McCaffrey touchdown, I believe. And then, he just like Tampa Bay was so bad for 3 quarters that they didn't pick up any urgency in play calling at any point. So he just chilled. He's just straight up chilled to 20.
Yeah. I think the Cam thing was, it wasn't.
But he actually, I need people to know, like, he could have had 40 if he had ran on the good side of variance instead of the wrong side.
Yeah. Cam wasn't a bad play. I think where I have an issue with Sammy's lineup were his running backs and AP and Mark Ingram.
So when I started the day, I had Chubb, Gurley, Kamara. So I had to swap because my lineup was pretty bad at the end of the noon games. But
I was different. I had 3 running backs. It was Chubb, Lindsey, and Gurley. So Lindsey was the one that I was shocked at how low his ownership was.
Well, everyone got off of Lindsey for Chubb.
Yeah, so I kept Chubb. I had Lindsey. I think Chubb was the one that everybody was like feeling kind of thin on. I was pretty confident that Chubb was going to have one of the highest rushing attempt shares of the week. I think I had him like projected for 3rd because, I mean, I was texting you and Sammy about it. I was like, 2 weeks ago he had 75% rushing share. Last week it was 88 or 85% rushing share. I said I can confidently project a 4.5K running back for above 75% of his rushing attempt share. And he did. I think he ended up with 88% of the rushing attempt share. I think he was second on the league.
And Duke had 30 though.
Well, yeah, Duke had all the reception work, which, I mean, I'm glad just from an overall NFL fan standpoint that Cleveland started to realize that getting Duke Johnson the ball is a plus EV move. But I mean, Chubb was fine.
They run the ball way too much, though. Even this new coaching staff, they ran the ball. They should have had like 55 passing attempts in this game.
Yeah. Chubb had 22 rushing attempts, and he had the second highest in the week, 88% rushing attempt share, only behind James Conner. So I was totally fine with the Chubb play at 4.5. And the Lindsey thing, I mean, I don't know. He had 17 rushing attempts, and he was 3rd in the league this week with 85% of his team's rushing attempt share. The issue was Booker got a rushing touchdown.
Yeah.
Like, because Lindsey had got the ball down there and then was pulled. So, like, if
didn't Lindsey fumble too at some point, maybe?
I don't think Lindsey.
I was flipping between a bunch of games.
No, Booker fumbled, and I thought Booker was going to get pulled. Booker didn't get pulled. Booker then got the Lindsey touchdown that was tilt. But, I mean, yeah, Lindsey.
What did Lindsey end up getting on DK?
10.4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a bummer, but, like.
So the guy I played with that salary was not at the running back position, but I played Kenny Golladay for basically that salary for the same 5,500. Lindsey actually outscored him. I think this was probably the worst game I've ever seen Matt Stafford play. He was horrible at every level.
The line was egregious. He was sacked 10 times?
I think so. Yeah. And I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if I should feel bad about playing Golladay against the Vikings or whatever. And I like the fancy play thing I did. So I played my wide receivers it started out being Robert Woods, Kenny Golladay, Cortland Sutton, and I had to swap to Cooks because my lineup was so bad. But yeah, I don't know if I should feel bad about playing Golladay over Marvin Jones or not.
I don't know if I would feel bad about it. I just think
it was
definitely
definitely fancy play.
I told you before lock that I thought MJ was a better play. I think I don't know, Marvin Jones, I think, had a better target projection, had higher T equity.
See, I thought Golladay definitely had the better touchdown equity based off of what I was projecting for him based on this role change. And I actually would say after watching a bunch of that game, it was randomly on Red Zone a bunch. He was out there when they had one wide receiver out there, and he was in the slot a bunch. So I don't feel that bad about playing him. I guess because I think I was right in the sense that this trade is an indication that they want to use him more. But, I mean, the Lions' team effort overall was so poor. I just don't think he stood a chance.
Yeah, I mean, you are right. He actually ended up with a slightly higher expected touchdown reception in this game then based on his air yards and where he was targeted.
One of those targets was like a throwaway target where he was the closest guy in the end zone. So that's probably a little skewed. He was in the end zone and Stafford threw it in his general direction, but it was not catchable.
Yeah. So Marvin Jones had 8 targets where Golladay had 4 with Marvin Jones had 73 air yards and Golladay had 52. So, I mean, I don't think Golladay was a bad play. The swap that me and you had was I had Lindsey and Thomas, and you would have had Kamara and Golladay, right?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And I just felt better about the Lindsey workload and the Thomas workload than I did about the Kamara workload plus.
Well, even though I didn't end up playing Kamara, I think that you should feel bad for not having planned on playing Kamara.
You might be right.
The people who the Sammy Reed people who thought that Mark Ingram was a big factor, just didn't. I don't think they had a conception of what the team was doing. Mark Ingram had, I think, 5 touches when the Vikings game was within a touchdown. Kamara is just very clearly still the guy. I think people are still kind of thrown off the scent from that Washington game, actually. I think that is still – because it was an island game, I think that's still really in people's heads. And the Vikings game was an island game too, when Ingram was getting all those touches late. And but I think Kamara is still – I think he is the second most valuable guy in the Saints offense, but I think his touchdown equity every week is higher than Thomas's.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints team is so tough because they have so many weapons.
Yeah, you got to tilt Taysom Hill and Ben Watson and Zach Line every week.
I mean, the Taysom Hill thing is
how many touches did he even get this week, though? I feel like it was actually less. I think he only got 3.
I'm pulling up New Orleans stats from this week right now. I think – how much did he get? So, I mean, yeah, Kamara had 19 rushing attempts to Ingram's 10, and then Kamara had 5 targets compared to Ingram's 2. I mean,
Ingram is dust, man. I'm not worried about him.
No, but it's not about – okay, here's the thing. Regardless of what you think about Ingram, Kamara only had 54% of his team's rushing attempts with 13% of his team's targets.
I think if he was $8K, yeah, but they gave you a giant price reduction on him.
But when you compare that to guys like James Conner, guys like Kareem Hunt, guys in the same price range, it's hard for me to go to Kamara because you need that crazy touchdown.
I mean, I think Conner and Hunt were also both really good plays today, and I wouldn't have argued. My argument is that I think you did a bad thing in the 2v2 by going with the expensive wide receiver and the cheap running back when I think you should have gone with the cheap wide receiver and the expensive running back. I think that was a flaw from your end.
If I would have paid up for running back, I would have gone either Hunt or Conner. I had both Hunt and Conner projected higher than Kamara. I don't think I was going to end on Kamara just because regardless of what you feel about Ingram, Hunt and Conner's workload is just so much better. Conner's just dude, this Conner thing is nuts. I don't know why we aren't playing Conner all the time.
He was the cover boy of my GPP article this week. Big smash. He's a goat. But yeah, I mean, I think you yourself just outlined why the lineup you had built at noon was bad.
Yeah.
Like, not that I think Thomas was a bad play. I don't think that is the case at all. I just think that like the Hunt Marvin Jones or the Connor Marvin Jones or the Kamara Marvin Jones lineup is clearly better
Than the Thomas and Lindsey.
Yeah, not even obviously I think Thomas was a phenomenal play, but I mean you and I both mentioned it though, like we ended up with him in cash but didn't have him at all in GPP. So I think that shows some level of us like not having total 100% confidence in his ceiling anymore, which obviously looks dumb now.
Yeah. Where I had a lot of Lindsey and stuff in GPP still. I thought Lindsey had
And I started out the week really liking Lindsey, but just like when I kind of looked at, like I looked at projections this morning at like a bunch of different websites, and not points, but all of these different sites that actually do like touch projections had Lindsey had Chubb as either the highest or the second highest carry totals of the week. So I was just like, I don't know. I think you got to get him in based on that.
Yeah, I mean, but Lindsey still had 85% of the team's rushing attempts at 5K.
Right, but Chubb was $1,000 less.
Yeah, I mean, I had both.
Yeah. So I think I just think the DK scoring, because like Lindsey, you know, the Booker, like the point you made on the show last week, the Booker receiving work thing definitely is real.
Yeah, Booker got the rushing touchdown this week too, which sucked.
Yeah, that's tilt.
That was the tilt because, you know, they finally get the ball in the yeah.
Okay, we should give Sammy this though. He played Jeff Hireman, who actually led the Broncos in targets and had 83 receiving yards and a touchdown.
No, I don't think he ended up playing Hireman. I thought he ended up playing Rudolph.
No, I don't know. He wanted to play Hireman at some point.
He wanted to. No, he ended up playing Rudolph.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Hireman would have saved him. Well, helped him.
No, wouldn't have saved him. Wouldn't have been enough.
Yeah, he still had 35 points less in the cash line, I think.
Yeah, so did you debate Sutton at all? Because there were a lot of good cheap guys like DJ Moore, Traquan.
No.
So, yeah.
I think I even had 100% Sutton in tournaments. it was one of those plays that I just
I had 0% Sutton in tournaments.
Regardless of ownership, I just thought Sutton was the safest.
See, I thought Sutton was like a horrible tournament play because my thinking was, so Sutton obviously was, he was going to see an increase in snaps and an increase in volume, but it's not like the Broncos offense was really all that good. And I think that I thought there was a pretty significant chance someone else would come in, not to get the targets, but to at least play the role. And what happened is Jeff Hireman just played the Demaryius Thomas role in this game, like pretty randomly. But I just didn't think like the Case Keenum Broncos offense, I didn't think it had the same ceiling that the Traquan Smith, DJ Moore like scenarios were. So I just went those guys in tournaments instead of Sutton. I thought Sutton had the best floor out of all of them, but I went Smith and Moore in tournaments.
Yeah, and I went with the good Moore, not the bad Moore. And that was my GPP take all week. Was I said everybody's playing the wrong Moore. It's not DJ Moore that you want. It's David Moore.
Wow, Seattle actually threw passes today?
Dude, David Moore has been out targeting DJ Moore every single game, more air yards, and he was like, I didn't understand the DJ love other than just talent. Like, obviously, he gets more exciting offense.
He gets like carries and stuff too.
Okay, but he had, DJ Moore it was tilt because I thought like it was going to work out. He ended up getting 7 targets. 7 targets for 60 air yards and only converted 2 receptions for 16 yards. It was a terrible game.
Did DJ Moore not have a good game? I didn't end up with it. He wasn't.
DJ Moore had 2 targets.
Yeah, he wasn't on any of my good tournament teams. I mean, game script like totally went against him though.
Yeah, but the cheap wide receivers this week, I thought it was. I mean, I had.
I mean, there were a bunch of dudes who were in play.
Yeah, I had Sutton the highest for sure. Then I think I had David Moore. Then I would have had Traquan right there. But Traquan was tough because it was just touchdown or bust for him.
I did see. I kind of expected a larger role for him.
Yeah.
I legitimately expected him to be like a real Saints wide receiver too. And what happened is they had Michael Thomas, and then like there was no one else had a meaningful target share outside of that.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it was,
matter.
and I also think, I mean, Chris Godwin's always right there at the 4-something range where he's always in play. I don't think he did much today, but I looked at Godwin a little bit in tournaments. But yeah, I mean, yeah, overall it was tough because I ended up bubbling cash games. What did I end with? 146.5. So it was like.
So you didn't leave yourself a good swap either.
I mean, I could have gone from Woods to Cup to Coop to whoever. I mean, I had all the swaps. The only people I had going in the early games was so after let's actually talk about that because I didn't think I needed to swap because after the early games.
To talk about it because I made a good swap. For the first time in my history, I made the right swap.
So after the early games, the only thing I had locked was Fitz, who put up 26 and outscored Cam, Chubb, who put up 16 at 4.5K and I thought was fine, and Rudolph, who was so chalky I didn't think it mattered.
Yeah. Actually, do you have the $25 single entry double up open?
I had the 5 pulled up. Let me pull up the 25.
Because I can pull it up too. I want to know how owned he was. I got it pulled up right now. It's loading.
Okay, Rudolph was 34% owned.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, all I had locked was Fitz, Chubb, Rudolph, and Chiefs D. And so I was like, okay, Chiefs D ended up with 6. Rudolph was obviously tilt at 4.8, but I had Lindsey, Sutton, Thomas, Woods, and Gurley left. And I literally was like, with Fitz outscoring Cam and Cam being 40% owned and Chubb doing great at 16, I thought I was fine. I literally thought I was going into afternoon games fine. I didn't think there was a need for a swap. Where you had the Cam tilt.
I had a lot of tilt.
And had a reason to do the swap. I had
Cam with 21 and Galladay at 13% with 8. And I knew that I was chasing a 33-point game from Hunt at 40% owned.
So maybe I thought I was doing okay after the I didn't.
Well, it was really your swap equity should have been based on I guess you did I would have swapped in your lineup just because there's no way Lindsey was ever getting to Hunt's score. Lindsey was never matching in that spot.
Yeah. I should have gone up to Kamara then and down at Woods
you should have went Kamara, Cooks, Cup.
Yeah. That's a leak in my game. Honestly, the swaps is a leak in my game because I'm such like a mathematical swapping is hard for me, and I always just feel
you're taking the worst of it. You're making a suboptimal choice just based on hoping that the range of outcomes goes your way.
And so when I'm looking at a lineup with 30,000 left, and I have Gurley, Sutton, Michael Thomas, Robert Woods, and Phillip Lindsay left, I have 5 holes left. I'm like, why would I swap? I mean, it's like bailing from a hand when So.
You know what I actually should have done? I don't know if the money would have worked, but I should have found a way to swap off of Sutton. That actually would have made the most sense given my position. So my position after the noon games was I had Cam with 21, I had Chubb with 16. So those right there were okay. But then I had Galladay stuck with 8.4. I had Rudolph stuck with 4.8. And I had the Lions defense who only got 6.
You got so lucky to beat me.
No, I didn't. I made the right decisions, and you did not.
You played Galladay.
Galladay versus Marvin Jones was like, yes, it was thin, but I don't feel horrible about it.
I think my wide receivers.
So yeah, who are the 3 guys?
Sutton, Thomas, and Woods.
I think a leak you have is you really like to pay up for that second wide receiver. Like you like to pay the tax for that second wide receiver. And I think on DraftKings scoring specifically, I think that's a leak. I think that's something you should look at, not in terms of week to week, but I think you should run the numbers on optimal lineup construction and see how often that ends up being a cashing or optimal lineup. Because I just, my intuitive sense coming from someone who does less rigorous mathematical analysis, but just plays a lot of DFS, is that is a lineup construction that long-term is not EV on DraftKings.
Yeah, you might be right. I just thought Woods I mean, I was not expecting Woods to be the lowest scoring of the three
Well,
LA receivers.
I mean, you can't control for that. So getting to the point, the swap that I made was I started out with Robert Woods and Alvin Kamara in my wide receiver and flex spots, and then I swapped from Robert Woods to Brandon Cooks and from Alvin Kamara to Michael Thomas. And boy, in the first half, did that Alvin Kamara swap feel bad? Felt really, really bad. It didn't.
But what I'm saying is your swap was like a 35-point or 30-point equity, right?
So Woods got what, 15? And Kamara,
No, Woods got 12.5.
So Cooks basically doubled him up, and then Thomas outscored Kamara by 12. So yeah, about 35 points.
Yeah, so like that's what I'm saying. Like that's a huge swap.
But that's a huge swap, but it's like also those are demonstrable things that you could say. Like I think every week when Cooks is cheaper than Woods and the Rams are always in that late game because they play on the West Coast, I think just like having that swap in the back of your mind based on how the mornings go.
But why would you say that Woods has a demonstrably lower ceiling?
Because if you actually want to get to the heart of it, it's that I think Cooks is better. So I think Cooks every week, I think even if Woods has a better target projection, I think Cooks is a more efficient and better player. And also the fact that he's so fast opens him up to like 80-yard touchdowns that I don't think Woods has in him.
Yeah, I mean, Woods was only like 8% owned in cash.
Wait, actually?
Yeah, he was 7.8% owned.
Do you think a lot of people swapped off of him, or
no? I just don't think Woods ended up being as chalky with Kupp and Cooks being healthy, and that's why I thought the swap was weird because I was like, you're taking a lower EV, like from a projection standpoint, you're taking a worse projected play for the hope of an ownership thing. When I actually think that Cooks and Woods were probably a wash.
I mean, not even ownership. I didn't make it based on ownership though. Like that was part of it, but really I was making it because I needed ceiling. And I think it is undoubtedly true that Cooks has the highest ceiling of any Rams pass catcher. Like I think Cooks has already even outscored Woods a bunch of times this year. Like Woods has 1 36-point game. But then only 2 other games over 20, whereas Cooks has, just results based. So Cooks has the huge game today, a 28-point and a 25-point. Yeah, so maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think, I mean, I get like from a per play standpoint. Yeah.
I'm basically just saying like looking at these 2 football players and
if they each got 1 target, who do I think has a better chance to break the play?
And that's basically.
But if you're asking me over a game where there's supposed to be 70 something or 60 something plays, like I'm gonna give that.
But when you're but Nate, when you're already in a spot where you're drawing thin, sometimes that's like the pinpoint that you need, your brain needs to make the decision, like because and also I was projecting Woods for more ownership than that. Like I thought Woods would be more like 25, like 15 to 20%.
Yeah, the Woods thing actually just killed me. I mean, Woods ending up at 12.5 at 7K, where like literally Marvin Jones outscored him for like 1,500 less at 3 times the ownership. The Woods thing killed me. I didn't realize Woods being 7.8% owned and putting up a dud like that makes up my 5-point bubble in cash games. Yeah.
And then, obviously the other part of the swap was Michael Thomas over Alvin Kamara, which on DK, I mean, I think is like defendable.
Yeah. I had Thomas over Kamara all week because Thomas, man, what Thomas is doing right now is like unheard of.
He's just converting every target he gets.
I mean, I literally am somebody who, I mean, I look at this stuff all of the time. And so when I see numbers that are like, when I see his completion or his catch percentage, what it is, I'm like, okay, my projections have to be broken. There's no way I can project this that high. And I run it and I do 1,000 different samples and I'm like, nope, this is true. Like, this is actually what I can project, like within the variance that we've seen this year. And I can actually project his catch percentage this high at a decent ADOT. It's not like this dude's running Jarvis Landry routes,
Right.
And that's, I mean, yeah, Michael Thomas is an absolute freak.
And he did the Joe Horn touchdown celebration too.
Yeah, his ADOT this week was 8.27 at an 80% catch rate on 15 targets. We've never seen anything like this.
I'm so salty that the Rams did not cover / win this game because I had them in like all my picks pools, and I thought it was a lock. I was like, the Rams aren't going to lose.
His catch percentage this year is 88.61% on almost 80 targets.
Yeah,
this is insane.
That's really insane.
We've never seen anything this is insane.
No.
This is running back like behind the line of scrimmage type catch rates.
Yeah, except like as a real player.
Except he's getting 8 yards down the field.
So, I mean, I guess the main thing I learned today was don't play Adrian Peterson in your cash games on DraftKings.com, a site that awards a point per reception to running backs.
I mean, what was Sammy doing?
He was on vacation. He was drinking. Like, I don't know. I can't abide. He went full egregious. Obviously,
at least he got somebody with guaranteed volume in that second spot. Oh wait, no, he played Mark Ingram.
Whereas what I learned is if you're going to swap, always make the swap that makes your lineup 35 points better than the alternative. You should.
And then claim that the one player has a significantly higher ceiling.
I stand by that. You did not say anything to dissuade me from the argument.
Okay.
Also, we've seen them play what, 9 games as Rams. I think next year at this time, I think you will probably feel more similarly to me. Because it also makes sense on how they're used. Like Cooks just gets further down the field.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. That could be made up.
I mean, I don't think you're. Let me pull up.
What actually is their ADOTs? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I made this decision based off like total faulty narratives. I guess my thing is I just think Cooks is better than Woods. Like at the end of the day, that's really what it is. I just think he's a better wide receiver than Robert Woods.
Yeah, I mean, Woods has 11.58. Okay, yeah, Cooks has been running deeper routes.
It just makes sense given like their body types, but again, I could be making it up.
No, I mean I get it, the speed of Cooks and like the per play, but it's just when you factor in like targets and the amount of volume in this game specifically, with what started off as almost what was the over under this week?
60.
Yeah, it got down to like 57.5 right by luck. Didn't it come way down?
Yeah, I think it came down a little bit. I don't have the spreadsheet pulled up right now.
Let me pull it up. Yeah, it went down to 56.5. Yeah, by the end of it, the Carolina game was 55 and the LA game was 56.5. The fact that more people didn't go with Ryan Fitzpatrick is unbelievable to me.
You want to know a bet I made?
1.5. Yeah, what?
Okay, first of all, close your Vegas tabs right now. What do you think the Bills-Bears over-under was?
41.
Nate, I thought this line was a joke. It was 37.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, I don't know. Maybe I got a good line because it was like a weird time of day.
Let me pull it up. That was 38.5. Wow. I did not realize it was.
So I had the over on, maybe it was 37.5 when I bet it. I don't even remember, but I remember at halftime being like, this is over. Like,
yeah, that's a terrible line. I mean,
Nathan Peterman gives 14 points. The other team starts out 14-0. So really all you need from the Bills, if the line is going to be under 40 when Peterman is starting, you need the Bills to get 9 or 10. You need them to get to 10 basically, and then it's a lock.
Yeah, Penny it closed at 38.5 with juice on the under to the game total.
Yeah, so this is just some professional betting advice from me. Is if the Bills and Nathan Peterman are involved in a game where the total is under 40, the over is a lock because Peterman will either throw 2 pick sixes or he will give field position away inside the red zone like multiple times. So there's some sharp tip. Also, speaking of horrible football games, Nate, do you know what the showdown is on Monday night on DK?
Yeah, I do actually.
These prices
Corey Davis, Dion Lewis.
These prices are crazy. Have you looked at the salaries?
No, I haven't looked at anything.
What do you think? What do you think is? What do you think is a fair price for
Dude,
Dak?
you can't know. I mean, showdown slates are always crazy.
Okay, I'll give you a couple hints, and then I will ask you to tell me what you think Dak Prescott's salary would be. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
go.
All right. Zeke. I'll kind of give it away. Zeke is $13K. Dion Lewis is 7.2. Cole Beasley is 6.8. The Dallas Cowboys defense is 5.8.
That's insane.
What do you think? What do you think Dak's salary is?
11.
11 on the nose. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Is it 11
on the nose?
I was just guessing in between.
I am like 0% to have. Well, I shouldn't say that. I really don't think. I think I'll be going 0 quarterback lineups in this slate.
I mean, again, I think that's a mistake. We've talked about this enough on Showdown. I think that's a mistake.
Well, you think you always want one, but I definitely do not agree with double quarterback always.
I wouldn't say always, but I mean, I think that
like Brady showdown slates, you just fade Brady every time. His salary is he never gets there.
Yeah, I would say from like an optimal perspective, though, when you look at like over a large.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like making 10 GVP lineups.
Okay, that's fair. But I'm saying if you're going to play showdowns every week, I think it's important to have adequate quarterback.
This slate could be.
That's why I ended up smashing on Thursday this week when I had 100%.
Nick Mullins.
Yeah, and people had him at like, and I was like, what are you guys thinking? He has the highest floor.
Yeah.
Quarterback just starts with the highest accessible floor and the highest accessible ceiling of any position on the map. And this
no. The thing you're wrong about is they don't have the highest ceiling. The wide receivers have the best ceiling on DraftKings.
Not in a 30 whatever that game total was. I mean okay.
What I did,
accessible ceiling, like chance of hitting their ceiling. You know,
this is neither here nor there. But you know what I did on that Thursday slate?
You didn't jam in 100% like I did.
I didn't. I went 50% Mullins and captain.
So you're only a 50% fish.
But then I went 50% Raiders D and captain, and the other 50%. And I was just like, one of these two outcomes has to be good. And it was. I made money. But what I locked Breida into all the Mullins lineups, so that wasn't great.
Yeah.
Do you build these by hand, or do you use your tools?
I mean, I'll build them like with setting specific like rules and stuff like that. So I'll pick like a couple guys that I want, and then I'll say, okay, so if I use this quarterback, I want these two wide receivers, and then if I want this guy, I'll exclude this defense or whatever.
Yeah, that would be a good hint for me to tell people using lineup builders for Showdown. Like
you have to set.
Well, you got to exclude guys you don't want. Like you need to like every Patriots slate. Like you need to exclude Dwayne Allen. You need to exclude James Devlin. You need to exclude Chris Hogan. Like you got to just get rid of those guys with like decent median projections who you just don't want.
And Showdown, like I don't do this a lot to give you credit, but like Showdown is stuff that Davis is actually really good at because you create a narrative of like how could this game play out.
You have to.
You need to build like your lineups like you're telling a story of like, okay, if I'm going to put Tom Brady in captain, what works out where this works out,
right?
And then you need to build a lineup around that, and then you need to look at the next lineup and go, okay, if I put this guy as captain, what like. And when you do that, each lineup has an individual like ceiling that is different than you're just going to get with projection.
Right. Like I build some really bad Showdown lineups, and I talk about this because I do these Showdown analysis on the Patreon for the Takecast. But like I build some really bad Showdown lineups based on, okay, well, what would happen if this team is down 30 the whole game? And then, it never happens. But like also I like
That's where you got to go with the backup quarterback. Always got to have.
Don't have the backup quarterback. But like, for example, like I think for Monday night, I think you could go with, well, what happens if Cooper is just horrible? Well, then Cole Beasley's probably underpriced. If Cooper's just not ready to go, if they only have him in on sub packages, then you should just have like a bunch of Cole Beasley because he's underpriced on this slate by $1,000. Like I think that's like an example of a way you should start thinking about Showdown slates. Which gives you an edge because most people doing these are not doing that. They're just either they're hand making them with like no correlation, or they're running them with a lineup builder without a correlation.
I think it's sharp.
Boom.
I think that's sharp.
All right, man. Hey, this was fun. Sammy, if you're listening, thank you for providing us with entertainment with your 117 points this week.
It did make me better, even though I didn't smash this week, to know that Sammy was a fish.
Yeah, no, like when I thought I was losing everything, like it felt good to know, like, well, Sammy,
at least I didn't play Adrian Peterson.
Like, Sammy can't even swap because his like one hope was like Mark Ingram having 4 touchdowns.
There's somebody who slept him. It was insane.
Yeah. All right.
I'm just gonna tilt my Robert Woods 5 for 9, like 70-yard game. Like that's tilting.
We'll leave you with that, everyone. Good luck next week.